So the rendering of an AI is done through the computer with electric, the same as when you're digesting food. There's energy that's being put into it, and that energy, even though it's chemical, it's electrochemical. It's no different than the cord made up of like brass inside of a computer. That's its chemical to its electrical. And then the opposite of depth is being schematically sound. The more that something is holographic, it is having more characteristics because it's fleshed out better. Just like something that's grown really well, if you burn it, its ashes will be white. Because of the opposite of digesting, when it is being like heated up or aged, the things will start popping out of it that are I don't know, I gotta research it, but when something like a cookie is like being aged, isn't like its sugar getting harder, and so the batter is gonna dissolve first and the sugar will be like what's left. Over here we have schematically sound holographic representation, where it's the same as a painting. When if you're like close to a painting, it's not as great, but if you go just far enough away, it looks perfect. The more it would look schematically sound, and balancing the opposite of depth and shadows would be the contrast of lighter colors, like laser light colors, highlighter colors. But it's just fantastic because with cells you're performing the same exact architectural structure, and that's why the particles of fine grain like sand are so closely related to fluid. But it isn't it, so we could be achieving the same thing as a logic gate and not pretty cool. But how about a magnetic strip? There's ones that sometimes don't scan because you put the card in wrong, but what would be like a hybrid that it would always scan no matter how wrong you put it in? Cool. And this is like in Hollywood, what people, that's a real wasp. Yeah, these are all wasps. I mean, this is a wasp. Okay, so yeah, so if you can make like a knot in one fell swoop, it would look like 10 times more cool than having to sit there and do all this stuff, the extra cranking. This is why the inventor of the power drill, oh my gosh, one of the patriots of ingenuity, the person who created the ball bearing, once again, that's astonishing. Wow. A new way at understanding a wheel. How about that? Reminds me of the electromagnetic spectrum. There's an anti-electromagnetic spectrum. I'd say there's one. And it would look infinitely like it because it's an infinity, but it would be a negative infinity. But it would be so close to it, you would think it would be the same thing, because to you they're both infinities. And when they render at the speed of light, which electromagnetics do, it would be impossible to deduce their rendering. And that's where the rubber meets the road in the difference of plasma to lava. They're both liquid, they're both hot, but a plasma is like a lot more accurate when it's burning things than lava is. It's like if a lava is being cooled, that lava has less of potentials to cut right through in its burn marking. For a plasma, it would cut straight through. The likelihood of a robot switching one of my discs in my spine or putting a filter over my eyes that I couldn't see are somewhat science fiction movies, but just the conceptualization, hackers are paying a lot of money for info in bulk. And that's troubling because that's how it would start. And then the characteristics of things that are heinous, like pyromaniacs becoming arsons inside of an envelope, would construe in specifics of genetics. They have a characteristic of their... It's like an arsonist would be walking around looking at what things he would want to put on fire the most. A person who smashes pumpkins would be looking over there, looking at all of them as which ones they would want to smash first. And I'm saying precaution with a grain of salt. I've given out my social security number over the phone hundreds of times. I kind of trust the people who are asking for it because I'm calling their phone support, but who the hell knows if they're even a phone support? Half the time they hang up on me. The same as someone who can buy a police badge is no different than someone who can make a citizen arrest. I mean, I've hit hydrated fire hydrants twice this year. The marks are still on my car. It was obviously because I wasn't going as quick as I could have been, and then I didn't continue there afterwards. You eat an envelope and it starts to open. Well, how many envelopes can you eat without them opening altogether? I want to address robots in the Mona Lisa. It's something of a conspiracy, but it's so well accepted that it's really important to understand just because it's so nostalgic. The conspiracy is that it's a painting, it's not real, but everyone knows the eyes on the Mona Lisa will follow you to and fro. I don't know why everyone knows that, they just do. But it's not arguable because optical illusions are defined as being evasive, whereas when they're conceptualized in reality, it's the opposite of what they should be. That's why they're a thing. And so I'm thinking with a robot, if their AI has all these filters, one of them could be like a motion filter. So when you put on a motion filter, they would be able to take like the stern look in an eye. The eyes are the most genuine, authentic part where people can read. That's what makes poker players so great, their poker face, and they're able to read eyes. So what if a robot was making the most authentic filter on your eye, on both of your eyes, and it had all that data, and so it would be able to make you always have a blank stare, but to everyone else in the worst positions you would be moving, you would be making the opposite of the best choice for like having mean eyes or scared eyes, and you wouldn't even know it because they would be on the other side of your cornea, making the illusion. And this would probably be done through satellites because there's millions and millions of dollars of them active at all time, shooting who the hell knows, maybe right in front of your eyes and you wouldn't even know. And then the second thing with a robot, I would never want my discs in my spine to be taken, just one of them. You probably wouldn't even know if you had one spine and your disc replaced with like a pressure light of a disc. You know those things in Tron where they throw and they're like laser discs? Well, imagine that if it was even lighter. You basically wouldn't even be able to know that it had been exchanged. But lo and behold, how many things does your spine control when it comes to chemical, molecular, electroactivity? Well, it all runs up your spine. That's why people say they get shivers down their spine. Well, that's quite literally electric pulse. And so one thing I would never want to have happen is that a robot to switch out one of my discs as I'm sleeping, and then for no odd reason I wouldn't be able to tell if I start spazzing out, because I never do, but a jerk reaction, those occur. But hey, I wouldn't want that to be controlled by a robot.